Hello there, I'm Jen Kiaba. This is the weekly licensing theme challenge and you are on week 5. Hey there, welcome to week 5 of our weekly challenge. I can't believe we have already been together for a month creating images for our licensing portfolios. That's incredible. Thank you so much for sticking around with me this long. So this week, the theme is secrets, and I want to give you a little background on this week's theme. So if you're in my Facebook group Beneath the Surface, you know that I recently took a trip to Mexico. I was actually on a photographer's retreat, and before I left, I got a fun surprise in the form of a couple of sales from one of my agencies. Now, the two things. One is that the sales definitely helped offset the cost of my trip, which is always wonderful. And two, these are images that had sold previously. And if you're in my course Uncovered, you know all about how images can sell multiple times because I teach you all about rights managed models for licensing and how and why an image can sell multiple times. But the thing that I started to think about is that these images that had sold before have kind of become a couple of the best sellers in my portfolio. And on one hand, that's a wonderful thing to have, and I definitely don't begrudge those images for selling. On the other hand, it makes me think about how I'd like to keep creating images that would sell because it's always exciting to have a new image and a new book cover that sells. So what we wanted to do today is walk you through some of those images that I consider to be best sellers and to show you why I think the theme of secrets not only works so well for my portfolio, but will also work well for yours. So I'm going to take you through those book covers really quickly, and then we'll talk about how we're going to go about shooting for our theme. So this first book cover here is a photograph that was taken in my old apartment of a friend. This image has sold for 4 different book covers in 4 different countries. Again, if you're in my course Uncovered, you know how and why this has been able to happen. But basically what's happened is that the publishers have only purchased the rights for a single country when they are publishing a book, as opposed to buying worldwide rights. So that means that I've been able to sell this image over and over again. The other image here is an image of a model that I have photographed multiple times, and this has been an image that has sold in multiple countries for multiple titles. Now, what's interesting about this one is that it was purchased not with a worldwide license, so you can see that there's actually 2 different books here, but I've gotten paid for the American release of this, for the Kindle release of it, for a European release of it, and then for a specific book in Italian that's totally not related. So again, the intricacies of licensing is always really interesting, and you can see how the theme of secrets is kind of diversified in these 2 different covers. You know, one is much darker. It's usually been sold for images around murder mysteries and things that towns are covering up, whereas this other image is a little bit more playful, but still kind of secretive. And then this last image is an image that has sold 4 different times, but for 2 different books. So the first time it sold for an Italian edition of a book, and then it has been renewed twice after that. And then it has also been sold for an Australian book. And you can see that, again, this theme of secrets really comes into play. And this is actually a self-portrait. So, as always, what I want you to think about is how can you utilize the spaces around you and the people around you. So in the first case of one of those book covers, that was a friend that I had invited over to photograph. And, you know, I have paid her since then for the shooting, but at that time we were kind of just doing a trade for prints sort of situation. The second time was a model that I had paid for. And then the third time it was a self-portrait. All of them were taken in very simple spaces with very simple lighting. In 2 of those cases, they were taken in my home. The middle case was in my old studio, but it's certainly an image that you could create against any kind of backdrop in your home as well. I also want you to think about how could you create images using objects or spaces without people that could in fact tell a secret, reveal a secret, or hide a secret. You could think about objects, you could think about doorways, you could think about how things are lit and how they're not. You could think about body parts instead of full figures. So you could hide a person's face, it could be a hand, it could be a foot. Think about different creative ways that you could intimate that theme of secret. So as always, I'm going to be working with myself, I'm going to be working in my space around me, and I'm going to be trying to look at the space around me differently. If you were with us last week, you know that our theme was in the kitchen, and that was all about trying to re-envision the space around us. So we're going to take those lessons from last week and apply them to this week. And again, as always, I am going to show you what I create and then let you know what has been accepted and what has been rejected so that we can learn together while building our portfolios. So I will see you on the other side, and happy shooting. Alrighty, so as you know, if you've been watching for a few weeks, I tend to start by using myself for self-portraits. Hopefully I'll get some models in here soon. I am back in a corner that you saw me shooting in a couple weeks ago. So I've got a window light here and another window light off camera here. And I've got this horrible, sticky red lip gloss on because I'm going to be photographing some things up close. You know, similar to some of the images that, well, one of the images that you saw in my bestseller list there. So hopefully this will be worth it. And then when I'm done, I'm going to be photographing in various spaces, trying to shoot objects and scenes that also fall under the theme of secrets. So I'm going to give you the time lapse of the behind the scenes. And we'll see how long I can keep this disgustoid stuff on, and if it gets everywhere. So, all right, welcome. Hello there. So here we are on the other side of my photo shoot for this week's theme, which is secrets. So as you can see, what I did is I started off using myself as a model with that wonderful, horrible sticky lip gloss. But these are images that are somewhat in line with what I showed you as being my quote bestsellers in my portfolio. So what I'm going to go do is sort through these, cull these, and you know, start to look for the images that are the best. So I've got a couple of setups there. You can see I was doing some flat light, playing with the curtain, and then I started playing with the window as a light source and more curtain, and then I moved to the door nearby, trying to do some fun setups there with that sense of, again, you know, something being secretive and unknown. So, you know, just looking for different ways to create variation and interest within a very small space. And then this is in the hallway with the door. So you can see all of this is natural light. Like, this is light coming from downstairs, this is light coming from a window, and then this is light coming from another window. So there's no strobes being used. Played with a curtain here, and then I moved outside with some props, and I've basically just tried to play with putting them into either different scenarios by themselves or with other objects to try to create a sense of mystery, and, you know, trying to think about, like, what are objects that are symbolic that could represent a secret. So a key obviously comes up a lot, but, you know, there's different things in here too that could suggest something else. So yeah, this is a quick overview of what I did for our shoot for secrets. So again, I will submit this to my agency and we will see what they say. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.